Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Scavenger Live. Today, we're going to do actually an interview or actually record a conversation with another scavenger. Probably about a month ago, we were talking about, we wondered about those people who part things out, part out appliances or cars or whatever else. That to me is like true scavenger style. So we got actually an email from Eric. Hello, Eric.
Hello, Jay.
And he says that that's what he does. And he actually has a YouTube channel as well where he actually documents how he does it, which is really cool. So we'll link to that on this interview.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions here, and we'll kind of like break this down. So, Eric,
Yeah, for sure.
Number one, where do you live?
Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Gotcha, yeah. So Canada.
Yeah, way up there in the north. Well, not way up there really, but Ottawa, that's the Canadian capital. So I've lived here my whole life, basically. So born and raised.
Yep.
I haven't moved around too much, but I've traveled a little bit.
And so let's talk about, because basically what I want to do for people at home who are listening to this, and hopefully they're packing or a listing on eBay, let's break you down as like, what kind of circumstances you're dealing with. So are you single, married? What's going on?
Yeah, I've been married for a few years. We have two boys. Spencer is 9, Parker is 6. And yeah, I work from home, and my wife, Christine, she is homeschooler. So she's devoted to homeschooling our two boys. Yeah, so that's our situation right now. Right. So she has a few things going on where she's bringing in she has a few projects that she's working on to bring in a little bit of extra income, but mainly our sole source of income right now is the eBay store.
This is exciting because it's pretty rare to find people who are like all in. It's most people. It's like a side job, a way to make some extra cash. But I mean, like us, you're all in.
Absolutely, yeah, all in. I mean, eBay is an awesome part-time job. We just started going at it, and then she convinced me, you're doing really well. Just quit your job. So that was 2 years ago. So I quit 2 years ago. So far, the ship hasn't sunk.
Yep.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
I mean, I think that's interesting because, we talk to a lot of people who, really love the idea of scavenging, but they have a partner who is not for it because
I know
because they don't like the mess or they don't like it doesn't seem like stable income. So you're really lucky, and I am too, that we both have partners who are like, let's do this.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I had to have a little bit of convincing, because I had a really good job, and I was, it was a unionized job that I was working at, and paying like a very good wage, had benefits, had a pension plan.
Wow.
And, the only problem is that I was miserable. Yeah. I hated it. And so she just kept on trying to convince me, just quit. You'll do fine. We'll do fine. Just quit. I'm like, well, why would I quit this job? It's a great paying job.
Yeah.
And eventually she just convinced me, and I was like, yeah, I think we can do this. So
it sounds like the goal was to have time, so you could have more flexibility of time to be at home and.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, more time at home, more time with the kids, because it would be times I wouldn't see my kids for like 5 days in a row,
Wow. And what kind of work had you been doing?
I was driving. So I was a commercial driver. Mm. Yeah. So I was always out of the house, always gone. And it's a very stressful job.
Yeah. I mean, we always say, if you're a hard worker and if you work 40 plus hours for somebody else, if you put that amount of effort into your own stuff, I can't imagine anyone it's not doing well.
Yeah. Well, and then a side note on that is that when you have an hourly job, there's a cap on your income, right? Like there is a ceiling. So no matter how many overtime hours you put in,
right,
there's always going to be that ceiling. You'll never be able to go past that,
right,
unless you get like a part-time job or whatever. But with eBay or with any other little project you're working on, the sky is the limit. It just depends on how hard you want to work at it.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good way to put it because until I quit, basically most of my jobs, were basically hourly jobs. And yeah, it kind of it started to feel really weird to kind of segment out it's my life by hours, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of hours that felt like an eternity, where I was like, okay, this hour that I'm in right now, that they're paying me whatever, $15 an hour, $20 an hour, this
Yeah.
is not worth it, you know.
Oh, I know. It
Yeah.
feels like, your life is just passing you by. It's like, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? And it's like, I decided no.
Yeah. So this is kind of a side question because I'm always interested in this because
Yep.
there are other people like you guys who kind of like have it's your own business and if you have kids
Yep.
and if
There
you
are.
homeschool. Now, are you homeschooling because you're Christian or because you're like hippies or what's that about? You know, because it seems like it's kind of two camps. It's either the Christians or the hippies and they both hate
It's
the
true.
schools. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like Christine, she's really involved with the homeschooling community
Yep.
in our area. And it's really, especially like on Facebook groups and whatnot. But she finds that, yes, there are those too. We're not religious.
Hmm.
Hippies, I don't know. Depends on how you define that, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, we just consider ourselves to be regular average people that,
Okay.
we just really value our time together. And I
Mm.
think now that we get a lot of that now. I mean, the four of us are together, 24/7.
Yeah. No, I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have kids, but I always love the idea of if we did have kids, it would be like it's you guys. Like most
Hmm.
people, my parents included, and were like, as soon as we could go to school, if you get your kids into school, because they're basically out of the house and it's like free daycare and
Yeah,
blah blah
that's it.
blah. And so
Yeah,
it's really good to hear parents who are like, no, let's just make our kids a part of our lives. You know.
exactly. I mean, that's a whole another topic altogether
Right.
is the education of our kids and what we feel about that. But yeah, you hit it right there because we just want to be with our kids and we want to guide them in a way that we feel the educational system can't do.
I feel like what they get probably from you guys is not only the knowledge and facts and all that stuff that we all get in school, but it's
Hmm.
also the emotional, the emotional strength that they get from
Yeah,
you guys.
yeah, that's huge. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's kind of walk into this. So,
Well,
what kind of monthly expenses did or do you guys have? So, when you quit that job,
yeah.
what were the
Mhm.
expenses that you had to make up for?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't like all at once kind of thing. Like it was a gradual, climb into that situation. So, I mean, we just cut everything basically. We're not big spenders at all. We don't eat out. We don't go on fancy trips. We don't have car payments. We have two used cars that, I pretty much do all the mechanical work
Hmm.
on. Like we don't have cable bills. We don't have a landline. Our monthly bills are just the basics. Like we have our mortgage, which is around $900.
Hmm.
That's like $670 American, I guess.
Hmm.
And then just the regular utility bills. We have a wood burning fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's
Right? I
except
love it.
right now it's awesome. It's so nice and warm. The only problem though is that it's upstairs. It only heats up our upstairs part.
What?
Yeah, so it's nice. So, the family kind of retreats up there during the wintertime. It
Right.
just stays up there.
Huh.
Then we have a propane furnace.
Gotcha.
And
Well,
we just keep it so low. Like the thermostat, we just keep it very low during the wintertime.
now,
And
no.
bundle up.
I guess my question is, when you guys decided that you were going to quit your job and just go full time eBay,
Yep.
did you guys purposely cut a lot of extra expenses, or have you always been?
I think we were already there. I think we were already had cut so many things and we were just living that minimalist kind of lifestyle. It was the natural thing to just move to just quit.
Right.
Yeah, and it wasn't a big deal. And I say minimalist lifestyle, even though we're bringing in, mountains of material,
Right.
for the eBay store.
Right.
But as far as stuff that we hold on to, we don't. The social circles we hang out with as well, they're not like people that value materialistic things.
Right.
It's people like us.
Yep.
I think that's a big thing too.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and that's hard to find. I mean, if strangers walked into our house, we might look a little bit like hoarders, but we would, it's hard to explain to people like this is actually not our stuff, and the goal is this stuff is all going to be gone as soon as possible. So, a lot of people hearing this will be like us,
Hmm.
where we're going out to thrift stores and scavenging and selling, items, but you are specializing in scrapping and in it's recycling parts and a metal.
Hmm.
So can you kind of
Yeah.
explain? Just jump into
Scrapping.
that. Yeah, scrapping.
Yeah, it's just I guess, a term that people use for recycling metal. So metal can be melted down an infinite amount of times and reformed into whatever, right? So it's just like a commodity, just like oil is, or wood, lumber, timber, whatever, So it has a value to it. Scrapping is you basically bring metal to a scrapyard and you get paid for it. So you just find stuff anywhere. People are discarding washing machines. People are discarding electronics, and you can bring that sort of stuff to the scrapyard and get paid.
So I live in
Sure.
a rural area, and we have these guys who sound like as you are. They drive old
Yeah.
trucks, and they drive around, and they have like ads in the paper, and they're like, "We'll
Yeah.
come and haul stuff away." And you can see them driving across the county with just like truckloads of like
Oh
old
yeah.
cans and everything else. And the funny thing is, they're like real. I don't know
Yeah.
if they have this term in Canada, but they're like real redneck, and they like
They are.
hunt, and they live in trailers, and like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I know. It's like that here too. They're the same,
yeah.
and yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm the odd one out, with that. But that's it. I mean, it's basically just free money sitting on the side of the road. Like, I have an old truck. It's an old beat up Dodge Ram. It's 1998, so
Yep.
it's like 17 or 18 years old, and it's that's what I do. I have big rails on the side so nothing flies out. And I have like a few contacts of businesses that I pick up from.
Hmm.
So mainly it's an HVAC shop that I pick up from. HVAC is like heating, venting, air conditioning.
Yep.
And I have pickup from a small engine place. They do like snow blowers, small like lawnmowers and stuff like that. And I have a scrap metal electronics drop off bin in my little town. So people will just drop off all their scrap metal and all of their electronics at my bin,
Hmm.
and I just go pick it all up. So it's a great way for the community to just bring all this stuff in one place, so I don't have to bounce around, because I don't give out my telephone number anymore. I used to do that, but I don't advertise my phone number for people to call me up.
How come?
Well, it's just got a little bit too much, and
Yeah.
especially when, yeah, sometimes I would get like 4 phone calls a day, and it's like, I have a toaster oven. Can you come pick it up? It's like, no.
Yeah.
It's just got to the point that if I'm going to go to your house, it better be for like a truck full of
Right.
material. It's not for
Right.
a little TV. So, you know what I mean?
Okay. So I have a bunch of questions just on this one topic.
Yeah.
So people are clear, there are two parts of its business. There is
Mhm.
taking appliances and you part them out or you fix them, and you sell those on eBay as items. Versus, and the other part is just taking scrap to a local scrapyard and they give you cash, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So number one, how long did it take you to make all those contacts, like putting boxes in and the HVAC shop?
Hmm. Not very long. Well, I kind of just stumbled onto the contacts by accident, really. I mean, the HVAC shop was just like a friend that they needed someone. So it didn't take very long. I mean, you just got to, if anyone wants to do what I'm doing, I would say just cold call some places and just say, are you in need of someone to take away your stuff? Are you in need of someone to haul away your scrap metal?
I mean, the obvious question is, I mean, why would they want to give that stuff to you since it's valuable?
Well, they consider it to be like a waste material, right?
Okay.
Like for them, it's just junk, and it's not worth their time. Scrap is, don't think you're going to get rich at all. Don't think you're going to pay your monthly bills with it, because it's not real. It's not very valuable unless you get into copper, the more semi-precious metals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just want their business, and they focus on what they do, and they just get this stuff and they want it out. They don't want to have to deal with it.
Right. So I was going to ask you this because, the scrappers I know around here, I'll talk to them, and yeah, unless you have copper or aluminum, I mean,
Yeah.
basically like just steel and iron,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to take a whole truckload for a couple $100. I mean, they'll take a car in and I think they make $400 or something.
Yeah. Well, not even that really.
Yeah.
I mean, for a truckload, you might get like $60. It's not.
Oh, wow. So it's even less. Yeah.
It's less. Yeah. Actually, I did some numbers last night if you want to hear.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Like, last year, 2016. So I think this kind of sums up the value of steel versus copper. So 2016, I brought in 76,000 pounds of steel. So, yeah, that's going to the scrapyard. So that's about 34 tons of steel, right? And I made $2,300 on that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's about $1,800 US.
Right.
Now compare that to copper. I brought in 1,200 pounds of copper last year, and I got paid $2,400.
Wow.
For that. So there's a huge 34 tons of steel versus half a ton of copper.
Right.
It's almost the same, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, guys will want your copper more so than your steel, but they'll take the steel if there's a little bit of copper. You know what I mean? So, but I collect everything. I don't really discriminate. I just kind of take it all, and anything I can get.
So it sounds like, though, I mean, by those numbers, just the scrapping part is kind of just paying for gas and just
it is
some small bills.
Yeah. But the scrapping part, it's definitely, it's kind of, eBay store is the main focus, main income.
Right.
And scrapping is just for fun, but also it's just like a means to an end. So I bring in all this material, like a washing machine, for example, and take, 5 or 6 parts out of it that I can resell. And then after it's all done, though, you have this big mess of stuff that you gotta get rid of. Well, that's where the steel is, right? And so I bring that in after I'm done with it all.
So it's more of like it's more of like a side benefit of the parting out of the appliances.
Yeah, I consider it like just grocery money.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but it's fun. I like doing it.
Now, the last question I have before we talk about partying on appliances is: are you competing with a lot of people in the local area for scrap?
Well, I mean, there's a couple people that do what I do for scrap, but they don't really they don't sell on eBay or anything. So yeah, I mean, there's a bit of competition, but really, there's just there's just so much. Yeah. There's so much scrap everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I've heard that in the scrapping industry, because the scrapping industry it's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Like it's giant.
Right.
Because companies either get metal from the ground or they get it from recycling.
I know we've done some scrapping, and at our local scrap yard, it's run by, rednecks, real country people. It's messy. And he told us about a story where, like, some guy from China came to him a couple of years ago and, like, made him this great deal where the Chinese guy bought out, like, all of this scrap that no one it's wanted. Mainly, it's wires. Like, it's wired copper, I guess, that's hard to scrap. And it was great,
Yeah, you can make quite a bit of money with it. It just depends on how much you move. Like, it's all a numbers game, right?
Right. So let's talk about parting out appliances, though. So it's your main source of income. So it sounds like you were already kind of a handy guy. You kind of knew how to take things apart and fix them.
Yep. That's right. I mean, I guess, like, I don't have any schooling or anything. I never made money in the trades, but I'm all self-taught, I think. I consider myself to be like a YouTube mechanic. So, the internet is just amazing, right? Like, you can find out anything you want. I guess I'm a bit handy, but I just, what I do, I'll get something like an appliance in or a furnace, and I just plug it in and I just try and troubleshoot, exactly why it was thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just try and figure out what went wrong. And then once you figure out like what went wrong with it, then you can, figure out what parts are still good on it, right? So that's my process. And then so I just plug it in and see how it works. And then what I'll do is I'll go on the internet. I'll just type in the model number and try and find part numbers for all the different parts.
Yep.
And internet's great for that. And then once I get that part number, I can just punch that onto eBay, and up comes a whole bunch of listings. So that's when the research part comes into it, of how to find out if it's worth selling, if it's worth relisting, because I don't like to sell anything that's like under $20. I try and stay with things that are more expensive.
Right. Now, is the goal to try and get the appliance in a working order and try and sell the whole appliance, or is the whole thing to actually part it out because it will make more money?
Oh, no, I just part out, really.
Okay.
Trying to resell something is difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're trying to. I can make so much more money on parts than I can with selling the whole thing. To try and sell like a washing machine, a good working washing machine, for example, like you're lucky if you can find anybody that will buy it.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, well, it depends on the washing machine, I guess. But
right.
Like for parts, man, some of these washing machines like Bosch or other brands,
yep.
like you can just make hundreds of dollars on the parts.
Now, are you just trying to get people who are throwing things out, or are you willing to pay $100 it's for an old one?
Oh, yeah. Well, it depends. I have like offered people money before, like on there's some certain Facebook groups, you'll see someone getting rid of stuff and they want a little bit of money, but that's not part of my strategy at all. But mainly I just find so much stuff. Like once you start looking for it,
yeah,
it's just everywhere. Like people, especially during the springtime, people are just getting rid of there's just mountains of stuff on the ends of people's driveways. Yeah. And you can find anything. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad to hear that it's not just Americans that have all this overbudgeted / waste. Yeah, I guess our friends in Canada have the same problem.
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of people that are just once your thing breaks, they just throw it out.
Right. Yep.
But luckily, there's people that want to repair their stuff too.
Right.
Which is how I stay in business.
Now, so then are you finding about all this stuff through Facebook groups or Craigslist or Kijiji? Is that what you guys have? Kijiji?
Yeah, Kijiji. Yeah. No, those things I hardly ever use really. Mm. So like I said, it was just my drop-off bin. I just advertised that. I'd advertise that on just in the post office, the grocery store, like little flyers that you can put up. Yeah. And then just word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And I get so many things dropped off there. It's just,
wow.
Yeah. No, and it's just one little town.
Right. But I mean, if someone has a big, like a washer or a refrigerator, how do they drop it off at your drop-off point?
Well, they do it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess
wait. So,
yeah.
I'm just imagining it's like this box in the corner of a parking lot. So where does the refrigerator go?
They just put it right there in front of it. Yeah. They just drop it off there. It's behind like a shopping mall.
Okay.
Like a little strip mall place, and there's a grocery store there. Yeah. So it's all it is just a pallet,
right,
with some wood around it. And I have some signage that I bought that I made, online. So I have that up, and so that's all it is. And people just drop off, everything, even like good scrap stuff, like car batteries and aluminum rims.
And the landowner, whoever owns that land, doesn't mind that there's basically like a junkyard in the back of the property?
Well, actually what it is, it's kind of it's a bit of a collaboration between a little shop that's in that mall and I. So they approached me for this idea. Huh. So they came to me and said, we do a lot of recycling. We want to recycle a lot. Are you willing to do this? And said, yeah, for sure. So They are a vintage resale shop. So they're
Really?
kind of like me, kind of
Okay.
like us,
Right.
more so like you guys. So
Right.
they sell the fancy little vintage stuff that
Right.
from the 60s, 70s.
Yeah, just
So
like
they
trinkets and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, little trinkets.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of at different spectrums. Like they do eBay as well, but we're
Yeah.
at different spectrums of
Huh.
every once in a while they'll get something good in the bin. Like I think there was like a big patio set, for
Mm-hmm.
example, like that was dropped off, and like, oh, Eric, we'll take that. Like,
And
yeah, sure, absolutely.
and they don't want anything from you. Like I want 10% or pay us some money every month.
No,
Yeah.
no, she's like really just all about she's really all about the environment. Like she wants to tell everyone that if you have something, just drop it off at the bin. It'll get recycled,
Right.
instead of ending up in landfill. Yeah, so that's her motivation.
Okay. Okay. Hang on a second. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I imagine this just being probably just like an incredible like a Christmas every day. So if you drive up and you just see what's there, I mean, I
Yeah.
can imagine people are like leaving just like bags of trash too. I mean, isn't it just a attraction
Not so
for
much.
everything? No.
Not so much. Yes, I have gotten that before, but
Hmm.
it's not so much trash. But they seem to get a little the wording confused a little bit because I say uh, drop off your metal and e-waste or
Hmm.
electronics. So I think they might think the e-waste is also like hazardous waste.
Hmm.
So every once in a while I'll get like big buckets of
Like
yeah.
antifreeze or something.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Like big buckets of glue, like adhesive or paint, can paints or
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, but it's so you have to deal with it. I take the good with the bad,
Right.
but really it's not an issue for me.
Right. So is your process just going there every day at like 9 a.m. or?
Yeah, well, I go to the post office, right? So the post office is in that same town. I don't have. I know you guys talk about having pickup, like
Yes.
the person will pick up from your porch. We don't have that, so I have to bring it all in every day.
Mm.
So it's in the same town, so that's when I check it out.
Cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and there's stuff there every single day.
Almost. Winter, of course, is really slow. Everyone's kind of hibernating.
Right.
But during the nice weather, yeah, you can expect things getting dropped off there every day. I mean, my wife Christine, she just brought because the grocery store is there, so she checks the bin too for me,
Mm-hmm.
and she brought home this IBM computer. I'm
Uh-huh.
just looking at it right now. It's on my desk. It's an IBM computer from 1980, so it's a real vintage one. I was looking that up quickly on eBay. There's a guy on eBay selling one for like $600 or $700, but I haven't. Yeah, but I haven't found any comparables that I've sold.
Right.
So, but I'm sure I can make a couple $100 off this thing. It's just a big thing to ship.
I mean, isn't that just
Yeah.
incredible? I mean, we always talk about this. Just I'm just so amazed that there's just like
Yeah.
these gold coins just lying around, and
Oh.
you just have to go pick them up. And if you have the imagination, it's just
Yeah.
money. I guess just people have, they can make money other ways, so they don't really worry about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay,
It's fine by me.
so I have a couple of questions about this. So if you also
Sure.
part out computers, I mean, do you know about computers?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's all self-taught kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll plug it in and see if it works. And then what I do normally is like for laptops, if it's a laptop I want to resell, I have like the Windows CDs that I can format, and so I can wipe off the hard drives that way. So yeah, there's things that I do, to repair it. But if it's not like a laptop, like let's say it's a PC tower,
Yep.
I'll test it out, see if it works, and then I'll part it out. Usually I'll just sell the motherboard, power supply,
Yep.
and those are the main two things from it.
And then the
Yeah.
rest of it, did you take to the dump or connect it?
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother topic too. I mean, gold recovery, precious metal recovery. There's a lot of people that are involved in that. So, and it's some of these CPUs, from the old vintage computers, some people are buying those for $100 a pound.
Now,
And so
real quick, how old is a vintage? Like 80s?
yeah, well, no, not even.
No.
That's like really, really vintage. No, when I say vintage, I'd say like 1990s. You know, you
Wow.
get
Okay.
those ceramic
Yep.
CPUs
Yep.
and the
Wow.
old Intels.
Yep.
There's a big market for it,
Hmm.
and you scrap it out like that, and you collect it, and
Uh-huh.
then eventually you try and find a buyer that will give you a decent price for it.
Are you selling that online, or is there a local place?
Yeah, I have sold it online.
Mm.
So like RAM,
Mm-hmm.
like RAM sticks. I have sold 9 pounds of RAM on eBay a few months ago, and I think I made like 170 bucks on it
Huh.
for 9 pounds of RAM. Yeah,
Who buys
and
that?
people that want to do gold recovery.
Okay.
So it's people, they'll just use acids, and
Right.
there's a process to it,
Yep.
right? So it's more like those people are like the hobbyists.
Yep.
Hmm.
It really starts to sound like Star Wars, where like you're like the what are those little guys with the glowing eyes going around the
Yeah.
desert? Yeah.
And I'm Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there on top of it all.
Okay. Now, when you're parting out either an appliance or a computer, I mean, we've done a little bit of it, but I find like these things don't have a number on them. So how do you
Mm,
know what this thing is that you pull out? Like, how do you know what that is?
yeah. Usually there is a number. Like
There is.
usually, yeah, there's like little numbers on it, like depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I'm just thinking like motherboards, for example, like there's usually a little number, and you just punch that into eBay. It doesn't take me very long to find out the specifics of it, and
Right.
like find other comparables. But for like an appliance, yeah, sometimes the part won't have a part number on it. So all you have to do is just, when you get like a washing machine, you
Mm-hmm.
just take the model number, and there's
Mm-hmm.
usually a sticker that has the model number on it. Might
Mm-hmm.
be like inside the door, might be on the back of it. You just take that, you just punch that into Google, and you just say like put the word parts beside it. So XYZ parts, and then a whole bunch of websites will pop up,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll have like a huge list of all the part numbers for that
Mm.
washing machine. Then all you have to do, there's even some really good websites that have schematics, so you can scroll through it and you can find that exact part that you have, and then it'll say like the manufacturer's part number for that part. Let's say it's a motor. So you just take that part number, and then you can Google that or punch that into the eBay search, and away you go.
Now, I mean, we've found out about this just from being on the other end where we've tried to find parts. So like
Yeah.
we always buy a used stuff, but there'll
Mhm.
be like in a refrigerator there'll be like the inside the door handles aren't there or the shelves, and that stuff is
Yeah.
expensive if you try and buy it. I mean, sometimes it can be like $70 for like a
Oh,
shelf.
especially if you're buying it brand new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of places that are selling brand new parts, and yeah, you're right. It's like super expensive.
Right. So
But yeah, people, if more people parted out stuff,
yeah.
it'd be better.
Yep.
You could, make your appliances last longer. Because
Okay.
I'm the same way. We haven't bought any new appliances forever. We
Right.
just always get our stuff for free.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into a couple other things, I mean, so to kind of wrap this part of it up,
Mm.
I mean, are there certain appliances that are really your bread and butter? Like, is it mainly just fridges and
Mhm.
washers, or is it toaster ovens or microwaves? I mean, is it anything?
Yeah, toaster ovens, no. I would say my biggest two categories on eBay, my eBay store, are HVAC. So furnaces
Mm-hmm.
are my number one. I get a lot of good parts from furnaces, but then also home appliances. So washing machines, dryers, refrigerators, and range like stoves, right?
Mm.
Those are really, really good too. Especially the ones with the glass ceramic top. And you lift up that glass, and there's 4 burners underneath that glass.
Mm-hmm.
Those burners, I mean, you can sell those for like $50 each.
What?
It's just really, really good. Oh yeah,
Wow.
it's just Those are my favorite.
Wow.
But then again, you have to make sure you're selling a good used part. So there's a process to, like, troubleshooting what went wrong, why'd they throw it out.
Yep.
So, it's usually pretty obvious. Or even like the range, like there's like a little circuit board behind the clock, like
Yep.
that whole circuit board that controls the functions. I mean, those things can go for over $100 easily. Yeah. But so those ones are the main ones. And then also I do microwaves. I do anything really. Like I've even done like some blenders too. Some of the more high-end blenders. Keurig
Like,
coffee machines.
right. So I mean, like pull out the like switches and the motors, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Little circuit boards, motors, little switches, anything that you would think would break, especially little plastic pieces,
Now, I'm sure if you're doing well by it yourself, if you thought, well, if I had like a little helper, or if I, hired someone, I could double my scavenging.
Well, that's why I had kids.
There you go.
No, I've thought about hiring out, right? Like, it's, it's just getting a teenager to take apart stuff, because I have a couple cars in my driveway right now too, that I've been picking at, but they've been sitting there for a while. They've been just in the way, so it takes a while to get through it all. I feel like I'm doing okay just by myself right now.
Good.
So I'm just keep on plugging away at it.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about, there's like two kinds of like scavengers. There's like I'm building an empire, so it's about expanding and hiring and warehouses, and then there are people who are, I think, more, it's like us, we're just like, it's my time, there's a limit to what I want to do. I only need a certain amount, and I still have a life of luxury,
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not so much about building an empire. I'd like to, long term, I'm thinking this would be a great thing to pass on to my kids, like even, by the time I'm 50, I may have like 10,000 listings. I mean, that's a great little business that my kids could get involved with. Right.
I mean, instead of, I don't know what kind of jobs you worked in high school, but, I did a lot of like working in restaurants and construction.
Washing dishes.
Washing dishes. I mean, and I'm making no money at all. So what a great thing for them to do.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Okay, so when you decided to quit at your job, did you already have an eBay store?
Yeah, I did. What happened? So 2 years ago, I remember the first thing that we sold, or one of the first things that we sold, was a camera that we had, and it was like a $500 camera that we sold it for, and we were like, wow, this is really good. So that kind of got us hooked, and I just started making more and more listings, and then by the time I quit, it was May, and I think I had like maybe like 100 listings or so. So I decided, like, well, I'm going to quit now. And then I just basically locked myself in the basement and just made listings all day. Yeah. So I just kept on going like that. Yeah.
And so when you quit at your job and then eBay was already a known quantity, it was just a matter of just more stuff, doing it more.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Just get more up there. And so it was a bit of a gamble, I guess, now that I look back at it, but it was more so that I needed the time, and with the job that I was doing, I wasn't able to, get huge quantities of stuff listed. So
yeah, I mean,
I had to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, we always say, like, once you can list one thing on eBay, then that's it. Then it's just a numbers game. Like, there's no secret beyond that,
No, exactly. You just got to keep listing.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about your listing its process, but why don't we think about it more of like a weekly schedule? So a Monday through a Sunday, are you like doing certain tasks on certain days, or is it just one day is just split up into multiple things?
It depends on when my shop calls me, I guess. So the shop is the HVAC shop. If they call me and that they have stuff, I go pick it up. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll bring it home, and then I'll just dismantle it, go through it all, either scrap it or bring some stuff downstairs. It varies, really. I mean, it depends on just if there's anything to take apart, if there's anything to be listed, that's what I'll do for that day.
Now, those of us who go, at thrift stores and auctions, I mean, we always talk about death piles, these piles, because there's always more than we can handle. Is it the same thing? It's with appliances and scrapping?
Oh, it can be. Oh man. Yeah. If, I'm pretty lucky. We have 4 acres and we're very private. We're in the country.
Yep.
So I can just let it all kind of pile up and, we're not gonna piss off any neighbors or anything, right? With our death piles of appliances outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely pile up. So I like to just get it in and get it out right away. Get it in, take it apart, and get it out. So otherwise, you're in trouble.
So the appliance comes in. If you figure out what is actually still okay in it, you pull that out, and then the rest goes in the junk pile to go to the dump or the
like shred steel. Like I told you before, it's not very profitable. It can be a bit of a pain, and it just piles up so fast. Right. So that's one of the things that I'm doing is just constantly bringing in steel to the scrapyard.
Yep. Now, as far as like workspace, so if you have 4 acres, but do you have like a workshop, a covered area?
Yep. Yeah, kind of. We just have like a shed outside that it's right in our driveway. Our driveway is kind of nice and long. Like you probably fit 8 or 9 cars in our driveway. Mm-hmm. So it's nice and big space. I ran electricity out there. The workshop that I have right now, it's an old truck trailer that was here when we bought the house. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we bought that. We bought the house and they were saying, do you want us to get rid of this thing? Like, no, leave it. Yeah, exactly. So that's all my tools out there. And that's pretty much where I'm at all day. And I just use the back of my tailgate on my truck as my workbench, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when do you pack? Is that in the morning time?
Yeah. Well, depending on what I have to do, like if my shop gave me a call, but I usually try and get that done first. But if I have things to pack, I get that done right away. Just get it all packed up and out the door. Yep. That's priority number 1.
And most of the stuff that you're packing, is it pretty easy to pack, or is it kind of delicate and double boxing?
Usually. Yeah, usually. It's like motors are very durable to pack. They're heavy. But anything metal is pretty easy. Some things require more packaging, more time. It's bulky stuff. But I just have a whole bunch of boxes in my basement, on hand, different size boxes. Lots of newspaper. We just raid newspaper bins. Yep. For void fill. And then also we get boxes and bubble wrap from our post office because we've made friends with them and they know what we do. They're always saving all of their bubble wrap and all of their air pillows for us.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of a community effort. We got a lot of little spies out there for us.
Now, where do you store? So like currently, how big of an inventory do you have on eBay?
Almost 1,200 listings.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a bad little size. Of course,
that's
I would like it to be bigger.
Yeah.
But working on it.
Hopefully enough things are selling where it's hard to grow the store.
It is exactly. And the more you have, the harder it is to grow, right?
Yep.
Because you're going to be spending more time on packaging.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've basically taken over my whole basement. So it's a pretty big basement, and I just put up a whole bunch of shelving on the walls and down the middle of shelving, so and it's all like 2x4s and plywood that I find.
Yep.
So I have very little money invested into the business. So that's the best part, right?
Yeah.
And then I just kind of store all the parts in cardboard boxes.
Right, and is there an inventory system like A1, B1?
No, I don't do stuff like that. Yeah, Christine has kind of mentioned that to me before. You should do like some sort of Dewey Decimal system. Right. Yeah, no, I I have like the cardboard boxes. I kind of have it listed as I have a little piece of green tape with what it is inside the box. So like, furnace pressure switches or TV power supply boards or, stuff like that.
Yep.
And then I also have another shelf for more bulky items, and it's just all arranged in categories, I guess. So it's all just basically in my head,
right?
where it is.
That's exactly how we started, and that's how we still do it now, where everything's just kind of in categories, like all the kitchen stuff. This is the books. This is like ties. The problem is, so we have about 5,600 items in our store, and we are now feeling that system does not work. So I think this system works for a while, but if you want to grow to 10,000, I know if we hope to switch to more of like a numbering system. Like on the wall, there'll be a grid, so then you just know exactly where it is, so things can get mixed up.
Oh wow, yeah. But then you have to edit all your listings, right?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. So when we actually pull the trigger on that, it's kind of like, do we just keep trying to do it and grow our store now, or do we just bite the bullet and switch over? And it's going to get harder the bigger our store gets.
Yeah. So you're just finding it really hard sometimes to find stuff?
Just think about it. 1,200 items is a lot, but it's manageable. Imagine 5 times what you have right now, at some point, not all your thermostats can fit in one box, It may be
exactly
5 boxes, and then like, okay, I got to go through 5 boxes to find this one thermostat,
Oh, man.
So, something to think about.
We'll cross that road when we get to it, right?
Right, yeah. Well, I like what you said, though, because we're the same way. We have not really had to invest a lot of money in our business, especially in the early days, because we could scavenge boxes and...
Well, it's a whole new world compared to, like, before internet. You would have to do a brick and mortar shop.
Sure.
Invest thousands and thousands of dollars into something like that.
Before you even make a dollar, right?
Exactly. Right. Nowadays, it's like... anyone can do this.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Do you have any kind of dream of one day like building a big kind of like warehouse on your property, or like a barn?
Yeah. I would love to have an outbuilding like that.
Sure, yeah.
Whether it would be dedicated to eBay, probably not. It just depends on how big my inventory gets. Like I said, if I want 10,000 listings, like sheesh.
Right.
I may have to have an outbuilding.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. And do you have like, how long does it take for items to sell? Like, are you willing just to list it and it's forget it and wait till it sells?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just list it and forget it.
Yep.
Especially with parts, you don't have. You may be like 5 months in and you look at it and it's like, oh my God, this thing has only had 10 views. It's like, oh, is anyone going to buy this thing? And then eventually, someone will buy it for like $70. So you just have to sit on it, really. Yep. That's how I do it.
And what percentage of your items sell to Americans versus people in Canada?
I'd say like, probably like 60% of the stuff I sell is Canadian.
Really?
And then 40% American, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Canada, it's a smaller market. It's only like 30 million people.
Yep.
So that's like my main target, really. And I find Canada, even though it's a smaller market, it doesn't have very many options in the way of consumers. Like people often in Canada, people will often turn to the States to buy stuff in general, especially parts.
Right.
They don't. It's hard to find stuff in Canada, really. It's hard, but like people, like I'm in Ottawa. Ogdensburg, New York is about 45 minutes away.
Wow.
People will have stuff shipped to Ogdensburg in a mailbox, and then they'll drive there, pick it up, and drive back. Yeah, they'll do that, especially for car parts.
Yep.
Especially for anything else that they need.
Yep. I've heard of people in Canada who sell on eBay will actually get a P.O. box in America if they live across the border, and they will sell as if they're an American. So
oh my gosh.
that way then maybe once or twice or 3 times a week they drive down to America and ship stuff and pick stuff up. I mean, have you ever thought about that, or is that just more?
Yeah, no, that's a bit too much for me. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to travel really every day or every week really to do something like that. And I mean, I'm just doing fine the way I am. But yeah. But I think what that is that there was a big switch over between eBay.ca and eBay.com where Canadian sellers were no longer allowed to sell on eBay.com unless they had an address in the States. Right. So I think people who still want to sell on eBay.com are still doing that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I can't find your items on eBay.com if I do a search.
Oh, no. Yeah, you can. It's because I have shipping options that will go to the States. Okay. So, yeah. So what will happen is that my listing is in Canadian dollars. And what will happen is, like, when you're looking for it, it will show up. When you're looking for it on eBay.com, it will be in American dollars. So you'll see it. It will be, an odd number, like $39.93. And then when you click on the listing, that's ebay.ca. And it will show my Canadian price. And then in brackets underneath that, it will show the American price underneath that. So yeah, anyone around the world, because I ship international as well. Yeah.
Now, do you want to have people from America to buy because of the exchange rate? Because if people pay in dollars, it's more in your pocket. Is that correct?
Yeah, but it's just automatically converted. Like, like I sell in Canadian dollars only. So, I don't see any conversion rate really. If anything, I think Americans are benefiting because our dollar is higher. Like it's a dollar American is $1.30 Canadian. Okay. So if I'm listing something for $30, it's like really $22 American. Gotcha. Yeah. So I think they're getting a better deal. But for me to ship to America, it's more. So that's unfortunate.
Now I can imagine selling used parts. Maybe a problem being with its returns, or how do you deal with customers? And is there a problem with like a used part that you sent didn't really work or blew up?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I do my best to test everything and make sure it's working. But I have had it where I've sent them a bad part, and so you just got to bite the bullet. That's very rare. Yep. Vast majority, I've had very few problems. There are sometimes a few problems where I find, especially with used parts, is someone is trying to find out why their appliance isn't working. So they're not too sure what it is. So they'll say, okay, then maybe I'll buy this and it will fix it. And they buy it and the problem isn't fixed. Right. Now they can go either two ways, right? Like saying, oh, it didn't work, so they open up a return, and they say, it's my fault, it didn't work. Or they'll say, item is defective. It's like, your part is defective. That's the reason why it didn't work. Right. You pay for it. So, it happens. It happens. And,
now, okay, hang on real quick. Let me stop right there because this is so interesting. So, in the American community, the U.S. community, I think Americans it's different. They're always fighting about that, and they think like a lot of people that buy things lie, and they say it's always our fault. Are Canadian buyers, are they a nicer, more honest crowd where they admit their fault?
I guess that's the stereotype, right?
Right.
We're all the same, really. There's good and bad. I don't really find there's too much of a difference. You can find people that are super nice. Yep. And then find people that are just trying to rip you off. That it seems like, sometimes.
Yep. So okay. Well, then why don't we talk about that? I mean, what percentage of stuff is there a problem or is sent back? Do you think it's 3%, 5%?
Yeah, it's very low. Really? I'll send out a huge amount of stuff, and then you just never hear anything from them ever again.
Great.
And then sometimes, it feels like it all comes at you just all at once. Like return.
It
item not
comes
as described, item is defective.
right. It comes in
And
waves, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and so it gets you down, right?
Yep.
So
Now,
um,
are you, because it's this stuff is kind of just junk? Are you just giving a refunds and just like keep the item and just make them happy, or are you making
mhm.
them send it back?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I just roll over a bit too easy, but
Yep.
it's easier to do that and just to make them happy.
Yep.
Especially, I don't have any money invested in this sort of stuff.
Right.
Like I don't go out and buy inventory,
Right.
so I don't have to worry about, oh, I spent $100 on this thing. I can't just let it go.
Yep.
So I'm just out the shipping cost, which isn't, it's just a cost of business. That's how I put it.
Yep.
So it depends on what it is. Sometimes I'll offer them like a partial refund, like you can do that as well. So
Yep.
I'll say, here, would you accept this? And we'll call it even. Usually I'm able to come out away without come out away even on it.
Now, has that been a process for you to get to that kind of place, or in the early days, are you taking it a lot more
Yeah.
personally and fighting and whatever?
Yeah, I think so. It's just a learning process, right? Like I've gotten burned before and you learn by it. Exactly. I don't think it's early days. There have been a couple where, I shouldn't I should have just told them to return it. But instead of doing that, I just give them like a full refund, But so you got to play it by ear, I guess.
Yep.
Because especially, if I send like a big motor to the States,
Oh my God.
and then they send it back, and then I have to pay their shipping again, and their shipping sometimes is quite a bit. Like sometimes they pay like $60 or $70 for shipping,
Wow.
and then I have to pay that along with the original shipping and the cost of the item. It's like, oi. So
Yeah.
it's just easier to just cut it loose right there.
Yeah. I mean, I know that what we're talking about right now, dealing with its customers, is really a make or break for a lot of people that sell on eBay.
It is.
I mean, this destroys a lot of people. They're just like, I can't handle this. I'm just closing it all down because I can't handle it. So if you can figure out how to handle it, then that's really, 80% of the success.
When you get a message, like a message with all caps and they're angry and they're yelling at you. Yeah, I hate those ones. And they're just like, they're so angry at you.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I read it and then I take it in, I close the window and I just think about it. You don't reply right away. Otherwise you're just going to be replying with your emotions and that's no good. So you just kind of take a step back and you just let your brain, think it through. And then, you can come back and you reply as your business. You don't reply as yourself.
Okay, now I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball at you here, or I'm going to run something by you. So, when we talk to a lot of people that sell like phones or stereo equipment, electronics, they say that in that world there's a lot of scammers. People will buy a phone, they get the phone, and then they say it doesn't work, and they mail it back, and they sent their old phone. You know what I mean? So they're like bait and switch. Do you ever get that problem? People buy a part and send you back the wrong part?
Yeah. Well, no, I haven't gotten anything like that yet.
Good.
And I've been surprised because that's one of my things when I first started this is like, well, what's stopping them from like they buy my parts? Yeah, like what's stopping them? They buy my parts and then they use it and then they open up a return case.
Yep.
And then they return their old part. Their old broken part. Like what's stopping them from doing that? But I find like the type of people that I'm selling to, it's not really a problem.
Right.
I've just found that with more consumable electronics like phones, laptops, I don't know, it just tends to bring out a different crowd, I guess. It tends to bring out the stuff that I sell. It's what people need. Like I need my furnace to run. I need my fridge to work properly. Whereas cell phones, it's like, well, I want a new phone. I want a new laptop.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just think it tends to bring out like a different mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really say because I don't really know the facts because I don't sell like iPhones and stereo equipment. But I also wonder, though, if it is like these events do happen, but people overblow how often it does happen. Because I find in our business, we just have had, I mean, I can't even think of one scammer, one person that's actually tried to like purposely scam us. We've had people who are just not very nice, but
Hmm.
I think for the most part, it's like you said, people just want their item. If they get their item, they're happy with it, and it's fine.
Yeah. I have heard of like genuine like scams,
Really?
but I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it on
Okay.
both sides, really. Sellers and buyers.
So
I mean, I've
so
heard of.
right, real quick. So my thing is like, so why don't we say I'm a scammer? I'm a guy, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go on eBay and I'm gonna buy people's iPhones, and I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna send the bad ones back, and I'll have a new one. I mean, if I do that more than like 2 or 3 times, don't
Yeah,
I get flagged and get run off of eBay? I mean,
yeah, you would. If they're not genuine,
hmm,
eBay would catch on to that.
right.
Uh, I guess people are just willing to take a chance if it's like a big sale item,
Mm,
like a
right,
like an $800 laptop or
right.
something, and you're selling that on eBay. Uh, I
Yeah.
guess people are just willing to have a bad rap just for that.
Yep.
It's
Okay.
it's pretty silly, but
Yeah.
no, I'm in agreement. I don't think it's the genuine scams that happen. I don't think are a real issue, but
Right.
I think people do tend to. There is like a growing abuse of the return system.
Yep.
I feel, that's going on,
Well, I feel
and
like that's. I feel
that's where
like Yeah,
oh,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like that's Amazon's fault. I think Amazon has really trained people
Oh
like
yeah,
just train people like they don't have to pay for anything. They're just like order
yeah,
as much stuff as you want and then return anything you don't want and you don't
yeah,
have to pay for anything.
and then and there's free shipping. Like they can
Right.
provide free shipping. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, guys, sometimes I think I may have let like one or two slip. Where I get a little snarky with the customer, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if you can tell me how you would, send something for free through the mail, let me know, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I tell people in a snarky way when people say, "Can I get this shipped free?" I just say it's not free to ship. I mean, I'm like, I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's not. It's
yeah.
not free for me to ship, so that's sorry. And
There's,
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I get a lot of messages,
Uh-huh.
and if it's not, if it's not like something that is, they want to know something specific, but if they're asking for like a deal,
Yep.
or if they're asking for free shipping, often I just don't reply.
There you
I
go.
just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Good for you.
I just let it go.
Yep.
And sometimes, they'll give me like a real snarky kind of remark, like you know, you're obviously overcharging for your shipping,
Right.
blah blah blah. It's like I just block them.
Yeah.
I
Good.
don't really care anymore. I just like,
Yep.
yeah, I don't want to deal with you. Block.
But see, I think that you're a good example of someone that's taken control of their store, and I always tell people who are new to eBay, like, it's important for us to be in charge of the conversation and how things run. I think a lot of new eBayers are kind of like they're always a victim. They're always just
Mm,
there, and people are
yeah,
coming, asking them things and yelling at them and telling them what to do, and they feel like they have to like do those things. And I'm like, no,
yeah. Well,
it's your
they don't fully
store,
understand the rules,
right?
right?
Yeah,
When you fully understand the rules and you're okay to play by their rules,
right.
then you just understand and you feel less victimized.
Yep.
I think that's what people think is like, oh, I got scammed. I'm a victim. I don't want to deal with this again. It's
Yeah.
eBay's fault. So
Right.
yeah,
Everyone's
it
out to
just
get
depends on
me.
how. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So we're kind of gonna wrap this up here soon, but I do have a couple of more things.
Cool.
When you had a job, it was probably
Mm,
like most people. If you had your taxes taken out of your paycheck, is that correct?
yeah.
And then at the end of the year, you probably got a refund, and that's how most people are. When
Yeah.
you actually started to work for it yourself, I'm assuming in Canada it's different. No one's taking out taxes, and you have to
Hmm.
actually pay taxes.
Yeah.
In lump sums.
Yeah. No, it's exactly like that. It's just like the States.
Yep.
Either you pay your income tax, off your paycheck that you get, or you pay it at the end of the year if you're self-employed.
Right.
So if you're not saving all for that tax check at the end of the year, you got to come up with the money somehow.
Right. And
That's
and
what.
so what was that process like for you? Had that been a surprise, or were you pretty good
I knew.
about preparing?
No, I knew it. We knew it was coming, and we did our best to save up for it. And there's ways on bringing it down, like write-offs and
Right.
You can buy RSPs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it's coming.
Yeah.
I haven't done my taxes yet for this 2016. Actually, we're just meeting with the accountant tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
but I keep track of all my stuff by myself. I have some software that I use, and I just bring the results to the accountant and we talk it over with her. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that's good because I talk to other people who are self-employed, and there's two kinds of people. There are people like I do my own taxes, at
Hmm.
home, and then there are people like us who are like, no, we do our best, but we have someone else really do the final. It's numbers because it's more helpful that way.
Yeah, yeah. And there's people that say you have to pay taxes.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a fact of life, right? You
Yeah.
gotta do it. No running away from it.
Right. And so you guys find having an accountant is helpful to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of software that you can buy that you can do your own taxes. It's just nice to talk to someone and get their opinion on someone who's in the business, in the know of what you can and can't write off.
Yep.
Because you don't want, if you write off too much,
Yep.
then
Red
it's a
flags.
red flag. Yeah,
Yep.
the red flag goes up and get audited. You
Yep.
don't want that.
That's exactly why we have an accountant. I mean, for the most part, we do much of our own taxes, but I just love having, a professional look at what we've done, and they, add to it and change things, and they see where any red flags would be and make things the appropriate way and make it illegal and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially for a business like this, I just find it's hard to convince them because they don't really quite understand our business. So, like, I work from home. A huge portion of my house is dedicated to the business. So I should be allowed to write off some expenses, such as, heating,
Sure.
part of the mortgage, this and that. But, you don't want to set off any red flags. So definitely talk to a professional about that sort of stuff.
Right. And also, in I don't know how it is in Canada, but here in the States, I mean, my God, no one wants to pay any taxes. I mean, I'm sure that's true anywhere, but I mean, it just seems even more so in America. Like we want great roads, we want great schools, everyone wants Social Security, and they want everything paid for, but no one wants to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And historically, Americans and Donald Trump is going to keep trying to lower taxes even more. But in Canada, you guys pay a pretty sizable income tax, don't you?
Oh yeah. I don't really know like how much more it is compared to America. I know it's a lot more.
I mean, what percent of your income are you paying to taxes?
No, I wouldn't be able to tell you, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really know exactly. Right. I know it's a lot.
Yep.
Because we have like it just seems like everything's more expensive up here.
Well,
to be honest.
Also you guys have free health insurance, right? So
we have the universal health care,
and that's a single payer, right? It's just like you just go to the hospital and show like a card or something, and you just they'll do whatever.
Yeah, everyone has a health card.
Yep.
And so you just have to show your health card.
Yep.
And so it's great. But it's expensive. So, for things like my son, he broke his arm a couple years ago. You just go in and out of the hospital real fast. But I think other things that are more, intensive, let's say you need chemotherapy or something like that, there's a bigger waiting list, right? So it has its pluses and minuses.
So as a self-employed person though, and a family, does that take off a lot of stress to know that if anything happened, you're going to be okay as far as the medical bills go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've never had to think otherwise, to be honest. I know, like in the States, it's quite the topic,
well,
going on right now.
I mean, think about it. I mean, if you don't have health insurance and you get into a car accident, I mean, one of the highest amounts of bankruptcies in America are people that just can't afford to pay their health bills because, they got hit with some emergency,
Yeah, and it's not cheap, you go into the hospital and you come out with like a $60,000 bill.
Right.
What the heck do you do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I've never had to think about it.
Yep.
But you like I said, it's very, very expensive,
Yep.
and it's getting more expensive, and more services are being taken away, and then it's getting more expensive. So
Yep. Yeah, I guess just, I mean, it's like we say, there's no free, it's shipping and there's no free health insurance. I mean,
yeah,
everything's
no
got to
such
get
thing as
paid for.
free.
Yeah. Do you have any goals for the next year or for this 2017? Are you working towards anything specific?
Well, not really. I think I have like modest goals.
Mm-hmm.
I think by the time 2018 rolls around, I'd like to have at least 2,000 listings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be hard to do. I think with this coming nice weather, I'd like to just spend more time with the family.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Get out more, because I've been, like I said, last 2 years, I've just been going really, really hard at it, just listing every day, getting things listed. And so I just like to get out more, spend more times with the kids.
But that's a nice thing, though. As your store grows, your store can kind of go on autopilot for periods
Yep.
of time. So
Yep.
you can just say, let's just take a week off and we'll go do X, Y, Z, and the store will still work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like I know you've said before, you want at least 500 listings. Yeah, that's true. I would say more like between 500 and 1,000 listings
Sure.
before you can really feel okay about it.
Right.
And then you have to have like a really high average selling price on each item, like a
Right.
$40 average price,
Right.
for your items. Otherwise, and then also depends on just what your expenses are like too.
Yep. No, very true. And then I guess I always am interested in other people that do this for, they quit a job and they now are just kind of scavengers or scrappers full time. I mean, do you care what people think, or how do you introduce it yourself? I mean, like, I know in America it's always about, so who are you? And they're basically asking you, what do you do? I mean,
Exactly.
So how do you explain what you do?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a stigma that goes along with it. And, I've learned to just not care, really.
Right.
But yeah, definitely, we meet people out there and they're all into, materialistic things, whatever.
Right.
And so, yeah, the question will come up like, what do you do? It's like, well,
and
yeah,
they,
it's like,
and their identity is tied to their job. So like, I'm a dentist or I'm a whatever.
Yeah. For Ottawa, it's all about government. Like, it's a government town. So everyone's has a pretty high wage. Everyone drives really nice cars. And so it's just this, if you do something different, other than that, it's kind of like they look at you think you have three heads. Like, what? You do what?
What do you tell people?
I just tell people I'm a reseller. I resell.
Yep.
I recycle and resell, basically.
Yep.
And well, for the most part, I think you can go either two ways. They just are like, what? Or they're just really, really, really interested. Yeah. Or
I find a lot of people just don't even care. They're like, okay, whatever,
Yeah, that too.
And then because they're just thinking about it's themselves, so it doesn't even matter what you do.
Yeah.
And then I guess the final thing is something I know I struggled with for a while. At one point you had a career,
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel it's fulfilled? Like, as a man, are you going to be okay when you're a 60 and look back and be like, I just spent my whole life like being a junker, instead of like, I had this job and career and promotions.
No.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I feel really, really proud of what we've accomplished as a family, like myself and my wife, and she's been so supportive of what I've been doing, and I just feel really proud that I'm able to, like, I started up a business from scratch, and I'm able to get by with it, no problem. I mean, I'm going to look back and say, yeah, I did the right thing. I was able to, I'm working from home and setting a good example for the kids. Yeah, I'll have no problem with that.
And I mean, something I think I always tell myself is like, every day is an adventure, because there's no recipe here. There is nothing promised to me, It's whatever we make of it,
Yeah, it's like you're charting, new territory. You're going against what society wants you to do, It's like,
Yeah.
no, you're supposed to get a job and just work for a company. It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna be those guys in the desert in Star Wars that are just like pulling stuff out of the desert.
Yeah. What they call the sand people or whatever. Yeah, that'll be me.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. We will post this. We'll post a link to your YouTube videos as well. So people
that'd be great. Yeah.
And then if you would, I'm sure people will be asking questions in our forum. If you just stop by and maybe answer us, them if you could.
Yeah, I'll stop by for sure. I'm already, I have my username, so it's no problem.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, have a good
man.
day. Say hi to the
thanks so
family
much.
for us.
I will.
Okay.
All right. Cheers. Bye.